Hello, good evening, and it's Friday night. Welcome to the Insane Asylum podcast. I'm Joe. Mark, he's missing in action. He's got some internet issues. Uh, we're joined with our guest, Darin Buss, Phantom Paranormal, and you're also part of BB3 TV as
Yep,
well.
and Paranormal Brew.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from. Well, I know where you're from, but that special place we've talked about.
Right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast tonight. Like Joe said, I'm part of Phantasm Paranormal. I did have a team that's kind of in the background for now, which is MGS Paranormal, which is most of you know me by. I live in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Um, yeah, it's been kind of an adventure road. My first paranormal experience was back when I was about 7 years old. I had a dual paranormal event, which is unusual. I was at a friend's house playing pool, like by myself, like a normal 7-year-old would be. And, I had a TV against the wall, and then there's, it's a basement within a basement. So there's an outer layer, and I was playing, and then the TV popped on, and by itself, I'm like, okay. I went unplugged the TV, but as I was moving around, I swear that there was a coat rack about 20 feet back that was moving closer to me. I'm like, it's kind of odd, but I'm like, I'll just keep playing, and so um, and then as I was playing around pool and the TV popped on by itself again with even though I unplugged it, it still popped on. I'm like, okay, this is freaky now. So, um, so and back then too, we played with a Ouija board. And, when you're 7 years old, you don't really know what it is. You just think it's just a game.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
marketed as a game of all things.
right. And so I was continue to play it and speed it up. And as I went back with the pool stick, I hit something, and here that coat rack was standing right next to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I ran upstairs and never went down there by myself ever again. Um, but that was the first time I had a paranormal experience. Um, I just had odd things happen. My wife's apartment was haunted. She didn't realize that someone hung themselves in there. So that was kind of crazy. And then, so we had some stuff there. Our first house was haunted. We had, it was a shared driveway that we lived in, but a gentleman died upstairs. It was once an apartment, I guess. So he died upstairs, and my wife didn't tell me till 2 years after he moved out of the house that she saw somebody, saw the ghost in the house, and I didn't. So I'm like, why did you wait so long to tell me? But we always knew that something was odd with the house. Even though we lived down by the college, it was just weird in general. And then we had our sign up, to move, and we got up back home from up north. About 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, hear this crash, and we go up front and hear the sign is knocked down, and it's all covered in blood. And I'm like, what? Something really does not want us to move. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of more of the paranormal events that have happened in my life. I got to see the angel numbers a lot. Um, I am kind of sense when I feel like when you're watching TV, someone pops in your head and like, hey, I think there's something wrong with this person. You text them or call them, and sure enough, something was going on. So I get that every once in a while, but
That happens to me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird feeling when you get that.
Yeah, ever since I had that like out of body near death experience where I was knocking on death's door fighting cancer. Ever
Hmm.
since then, it started out like real weak and faint, where I get a bad feeling that something bad's going to happen to somebody, and the next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call.
Hmm.
Within like 24 hours, or the next day or something. And,
Yeah.
and over time, it got to the point where I can almost sense who it is,
Right.
within like, name a couple of people, and it's usually one of those two people,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean,
And
it's happened a lot to me. I mean, it's just when you're watching TV, it's just like, okay, or you're on your phone and you're popping on, and all of a sudden, wham, and something hits you, and it's like, okay, well, I think something's not right here, and so
yeah,
you just gotta,
it's like I get a bad feeling. That's what I call it. It's like, you know, something
right,
strange. I can't explain it. It's hard to explain to a person that doesn't experience it.
right, right. And, in fact, that actually brings up a topic about how people don't experience things, and they don't believe in this stuff. There's a coworker today that came up to me and goes, "So what podcast are you on?" and stuff like that. And I was telling him about podcasts, and I was telling him about this one tonight, and then we got into a discussion. And he goes, "I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I just believe that when we're dead, we're gone, and that's it." And then so we kind of got into a lot of stuff,
That's a
and
scary thought.
yeah, yeah,
Somebody to go around believing that there is nothing, like game over. That's it.
yeah.
You know, to me, that's like my worst nightmare come true.
Right. He
It
thinks it's
really
just total
is.
blackness. It's just
Yeah,
darkness.
eh, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
It really does.
I
I
mean,
like to believe that maybe there's reincarnation, or maybe our energy that the bodies, everything's made up of energy around us.
right.
So maybe our energy goes someplace else to another plane of existence or something.
Yep.
I don't want to believe it's game over.
Yeah. And he started talking about dimensions, about fourth and fifth and 11 dimensions and stuff like that. And it was a good 15-minute solid conversation we had about stuff. And I was explaining, I was like, well, there's, 7 levels to heaven, and there's about the same for hell. And then there's the in between, for those who died really quick and have no idea that they're dead.
Purgatory.
Right. So, but it was a good conversation. So, I think he understands a lot more now after having that conversation. I think it might have changed his mind a little bit.
Well, that just goes to show he had an open mind to begin with.
Yeah.
Because there are them people that I find that sometimes they're like, you're a lunatic, man. You need to be locked up if you believe that crap's out there or whatever. And there's no change in their mind. They don't even want
Right.
to hear things. And it's like, yeah, well, yeah, you know, you got to have an open mind in this life nowadays.
Yep.
You
The world
know,
has been flipped on its head,
yeah, the world's gone crazy.
and it's not flat, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one. Yeah, I don't believe. Oh, yeah, it's just the way you're looking at it. What? You're saying all these years as technology's gotten better and we've gotten into space and taken these pictures and proved that it's one big ball. You're telling me it's still flat. Yep.
Yeah, we're looking at a
Okay.
square. Come on, people.
I just don't buy that either. But, I gotta go around, I go around and saying, I like to say it a lot at the end of this podcast, and a lot of the things I do on online is saying anything's possible.
Right.
You know, when I was in high school early on, there was a biology teacher, and he was talking about all kinds of things, and we're saying, "Oh, that ain't possible." Oh, you know, and he's like, if you keep an open mind and you think about it, it's like it may not be possible in my lifetime,
Yeah.
but if you get enough people together, it could be possible. So anything's possible. There's
Oh,
a
well, sure.
solution. There's a solution to everything. So anything's possible. That was his scientific point of view on things, and it was like, oh, you can pick all the grass out of my yard by hand. It's like that, you know, one by one. I don't think so. You know, he was coming up with like these real crazy type ideas to get us to, you know, react to it, you know, to participate in his discussion. I got to tell you, for a small town school, that was one of my favorite teachers,
Hmm.
you know, because he made class interesting. But again, it goes to show anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And then people live in the Minecraft world that just think it's just Minecraft out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get caught in those games anymore. I was for 7 years, but it wasn't Minecraft. It was Final Fantasy.
Yeah. See, I played Doom games like Doom and stuff like that. That's a little more characteristic and a little dark, but I like those games though.
I get
Chase.
hooked on them too easily.
Yeah.
And then I end up spending all my time playing those games,
Yeah.
you know, and I can't do that no
All right.
more. I like doing what I do. You know, I like doing what I do now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, it may not be a job, it may not give me money. I may be in, you know, paying out more money than I take in or whatever. But the thing is, I'm finding answers. I'm gaining some valuable history knowledge
Mm-hmm.
on all kinds of places around Wisconsin. I'm getting to see places I've never been to. You
Right.
know, I'm having fun and enjoying life.
And that's what this is supposed to be is the it's slash a hobby, but it's also a very interesting part of life of what we get to figure out and find out.
Yeah, at the same time, I get to try out some of the new technology that they're coming out with every day.
Yeah.
We get to meet some very interesting people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Learn new techniques.
and we, if we get lucky enough to find some evidence, we get to share it with the community,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and say, this is what we got. What's your opinion?
Exactly. I know there's a lot of people that like to show orbs and stuff like that. I'm not a very big orb person. I've only seen like 3 or 4 in my lifetime, but we all believe that 99% of it's dust,
Or bugs?
or bugs. Yeah. So, but the thing is it's fine though. If you want to post it because I'm one of those people that will look at it. Will look at anything, even if it's your video from your um, surveillance camera that you're showing on there and stuff like that. Like, oh, is that a lens flare or is that something else? I'm not one to criticize or tear apart people because you know damn well that they're gonna do that right back to you 3 times fold.
Well, I look at it this way: we put up what we get, what you see, or what we see is what you see. You know, no
Hmm.
real editing involved, but we put it up there one so other people can see what happened or what didn't happen, and maybe you'll see something we missed.
Right.
You know, maybe you'll help us debunk it if it's possible. You know,
Right.
we don't even put up what we think it is sometimes. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, we just go out there, we explain what we're, a little bit of the history, what people say has been happening there, and you see exactly the investigation as it played out that night.
Right. Right.
No fancy Hollywood editing, except letting you know who we are at the beginning of it and a little bit of credits giving thanks to people at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nothing in between.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, plain and
Oh.
simple.
Yeah. And the name of the game is to be respectful to everybody, have an open mind, and learn to take the good with the bad, and say, and not always think you're right all the time. That's the thing.
That's right.
Hey, I put this up. Oh, that's not what it is. Oh, I guess not. I guess you're right. Okay, move on to the next one.
Right.
You know, life is too short to sit there and BS with people about stuff that's no reason to BS about.
Yeah, I mean, life, it is that's a waste of emotion and energy to be arguing with people over something that's literally all theories, anyways.
Right, right. We're all going after the same thing. We're all looking for different ways to get our same views. And if it's this experiment or that experiment, if it works, great. I mean, I'm happy for it. It works. Um, I throw experiments out there when I do lives, and I'm like, hey, if this is what you want to try, go ahead and try it. If it works for you, good. You know, I'm not going to hold back and say no, you can't try it. I mean, it's a free world,
Right.
and that sometimes is what bugs me about this industry is that people find stuff and say, "Oh, I found that first, so my name's on it." And I tried this experiment, so I'm not going to tell you what it is because then somebody else will take that and market it and trademark it and stuff like that. And then now I lost out on an idea, but I'm like, dude, it goes both ways.
Yeah, I never worry about that myself because, somebody wants to trademark an idea or whatever, that's just called greed.
Yeah,
You know, most of the people I've met, there's there's always bad apples in every little group. But most of the people I've met, they're willing to share their experiences, their stories, their ideas,
yeah,
what worked, what didn't work for them, and it's been nothing but a pleasant experience for me. There has been those few, and you get to weed those out pretty quick because they're all in for the 15 minutes of fame
mm-hmm,
or to make the money.
yeah,
You know, they're like, oh, I'm going to start this and I'm going to start this Paracon and I'm going to charge 40, $50 and serve you shit for food. You know, I've seen that happen.
yeah,
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong for charging for the Paracons because, the person's time, uh,
right,
setting it up, it's a lot of work and a lot of time. Plus, the venues will cost money. They don't always donate the venues.
right,
I can understand that, but there's a limit to what you can take.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, most of the good ones that I've been to have been free to like about $25.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. And you got another good one coming up at Broadhead Manor in June 1st and 2nd. Spirits in the Spring. So
yeah, I'm going to be somewhere else.
yeah.
I'm going to see the Honky Tonk Man, hopefully,
Oh yeah, that's right.
in Oshkosh.
Yeah, good old honky tonk man. Um, but yeah, that's. I mean, I don't I don't care to be famous. You're never gonna make money doing this thing. You shell out more money than you make it.
Yep.
But the thing is you're getting results and you're getting what you want, and
Well,
you
at the
and you
same
think of new ideas.
at the same time, for me, it's also a little personal
Yeah,
because for me, I'm doing all these other podcasts besides the paranormal one. I'm not doing it to get famous. For me, it's a personal reason. I'm
yeah,
doing it to leave a like living legacy of me when I'm
yeah,
gone because I've got kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
I'm already past my expiration date according to the doctors.
Right.
You know, this way they got more than just pictures.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, that'll live on online forever for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the other reason. I'm not in it for money. I'm not in it to be famous. I'm more of a loner. I've got a small circle of friends. I like to keep it that way. I
Yeah.
don't like big crowds. I do go to the conventions and stuff because I like meeting people, hearing their stories, making new connections, and maybe even doing an investigation together because
Right.
it's kind of fun too.
Yeah. I mean, the Paracons, I find it where we could do this, interview people,
Right,
get their story out there, get their lifestyle, what they like to do out there, because,
right.
that's what they believe in. So if they have the time and energy to go to these things and express what they believe in, then hey, come on the show. Let's talk about it. Get you
I
out
found
there.
some of my guests that way.
Yeah.
I've gone to a couple of these. I was part of the Milwaukee Paracon as a guest speaker a couple years ago.
I think I was at that one.
And we did a big, huge thing on Bray Road.
Okay.
And we had the property owner there as our guest. So he actually helped me over my stage fright. So I mean, the paranormal and this whole thing got me over that too.
Yeah.
So, but I found it really enjoyable. I mean, I liked going there. I like walking around. I like seeing what they have to offer at the vendor tables. I like talking to all the different groups, you know, learning, where they go, what their favorite places are, their experiences. And a lot of times I end up, hey, here's my card. Contact me later and we'll set up a thing where you can be a guest and we can talk some more. And yeah, it works out,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. My camera's a little touchy.
Yeah, I bump my cable. That happens too. I mean, I made since we've done this in 2019, we've had a lot of people on our show, but we've made a lot of friends that way to the point where we've got a trip we're planning out, and we're going to go to Illinois, Indiana, up into Michigan, and then back home, all within a week. And when we get to Michigan, one of the people that's uh, is going to try to get us into yeah, Eloise.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I'm hoping that works out. But see, it's like that guest that was on our show. I've been talking to these people, and they're like, "Oh, we've got connections there at Eloise."
Yeah. I was supposed to go there in March of this year, but nothing ever came out of it. So I think the idea kind of just got dropped. So
We got this. We've been planning this out since last year,
yeah.
and I'm gonna meet up with uh, not Jeremy, Nick and Kate and a couple of people from the Things Network down in Illinois. Again, I've
Hmm.
met Nick down there a couple of times now. Um, and I want to go to Resurrection Cemetery. I also want to get into Joliet Prison while I'm down there.
Oh, that one you won't be able to yet.
Yeah, they're opening up. I was just down there about 3 weeks ago, and I
Okay.
took pictures. They're in the middle of I'm I don't know what it is. It looks like some kind of construction, but they got a big sign that they'll be opening back up for tours soon.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I was there
No
last year for a
specific dates,
self-guided one.
but So
Yeah. July, I was out there last year for a self-guided tour.
So
That was interesting.
yeah, so that's part of that, and then we're gonna go to Illinois and meet up with Jeremy York and a few other people out there. Or Indiana, and I don't know what's gonna happen for that yet.
Indiana State Sanatorium, maybe.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Jeremy yet more about that.
Hmm.
I will as it gets closer.
Right. Right.
But yeah, that's one of our big trips for the year. And then, of course, we've been going back every year. We've been going back to Bray Road. We'll be going back again this year for an overnight. And hopefully this time we can make it overnight. Last time we got kicked off the property,
Yeah.
not by the owner. He was fast asleep at this point in his little, whatever you call it. It was like a little like apartment inside of his I don't know what you call those, like pole barns or whatever, that they just put up real quick.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got chased off by the property itself.
Right.
We were tracking a bipedal figure in the cornfield. This was right around midnight or so. And Dale Kazmarek and myself had lost track of it on the thermal. And we're sitting there talking and saying, well, it's probably following Mark. And Mark was halfway down, running right along. He was walking right alongside the cornfield, but he was way out of earshot. And apparently on all of his like body camera and stuff that he had, you could hear him talking like something was in the cornfield following him. So when he comes back, he's like, I think something was following me in the cornfield. And we're like, well, that's about the time we lost track of what we saw in the thermal.
Yeah.
And we're still sitting there and we're waiting again. We wanted to try to be there until like 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. That was the idea, because the trail cams that's on this property constantly, they get triggered with all these unexplained pictures right around that time. So here it is a couple hours later after our little sighting, and fog rolls in as thick as pea soup and fast. I've never seen it. I lived in Wisconsin all my life. I've never seen fog roll in that fast and that thick. So we pack up real quick, and we're packing up, 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later, we're back out there with flashlights, making sure we didn't miss nothing, and the fog's gone.
Yeah.
Just as quick as it came in.
Jeez.
And if that fog wouldn't have came in, we would have been fine. But we didn't want our equipment, what equipment costs, that shit you don't want to get destroyed.
Right. Right.
But it's a very interesting place. I was very intrigued by that place when we first visited it. And then later I learned it was dubbed the Skinwalker Ranch of Wisconsin because of all the various activity that's on it. It's not just the dog man that's there. It's, I'm hoping that when we go back, it'll be another eventful night.
As long as it's a full moon, maybe.
Who knows? I don't know. We picked a date that's going to coincide with Dale, because Merrick's got a paranormal investigator coming in from England.
Okay.
So that's going to be joining us that day. Actually, that's going to be a three-step investigation, with Bray Road being the last stop on the investigation. We're going back to Valley of the Kings. You ever hear of that place?
Nope.
It's wildlife preserve. I can't think of exactly where it's located at, but there was something about a trailer there that's haunted. You know, like I'm talking a trailer that's like back of a semi truck trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got some activity, and they've had some activity, but it's a huge wildlife preserve. It's kind of interesting to walk around there at night.
Right.
One, you've got all these feral cats running around,
Hmm.
you know, attacking you and sitting on your car and all that, all these house cats basically. But then you're walking by some of the cages, and some of those cages have tigers, wolves. They've got everything from a grizzly bear to black bear to you name it. They've got the wildlife there.
Right.
But apparently in the trailer, if I remember this correctly, somebody was killed by one of the tigers in that trailer.
Ooh, that's not good.
And then after that, we're going over to Alpine Valley area
Yeah, I heard about
to
that.
for the I can't Stevie Ray Vaughan crash site, and it's all done before Bray Road.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd like to get to High Cliff State Park, walk around there. I don't know, that place is pretty well haunted. It's been stated, and I know Badgerland Paranormal's been out there. Stuff like that. Sheboygan Asylum, I'll be heading there on the 24th for an
I've
overnight.
been trying to get a hold of those people.
Yeah.
I can't remember who that is too. I know who they are. I've been trying to get in there too.
Yeah.
That's on my list.
Yeah, I think it's an 8-hour investigation we're doing. And I'll be at the museum tomorrow night.
And that museum is, so that the
Uh,
viewers know.
So the museum is the Bashir County Historical Museum and Society in Watoma, Wisconsin. So if you're familiar with the story with Plainfield and what they call the Plainfield Butcher, and they also he's got movies that are based off of him, like there you go. Yep. So, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah,
All those.
Psycho.
What's that?
Psycho.
Psycho. Yep.
Um,
Another one out there. Silence of the Lambs.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep. And but the thing is I don't make that a priority for that location. He just happens to be one of the spirits that are there, along with his mom, Augusta.
That's because isn't he buried in like an unmarked grave in Plainfield?
So he is in Plainfield, next to his mother. They're both in concrete, so they cannot be stolen. But his headstone is not there because the headstone has been stolen twice.
Right.
And it is now in somebody's basement and where it will stay. We talked about getting into the museum, but we thought best against it and said it probably wouldn't be a good thing to bring in. We have enough stuff there already that involves him. We have his shotguns, one of the 3 knives that he used on his victims, his skis. So the energy is there. I mean, it's there. It's all in a case.
Well, there was an interesting piece while we're on him that I really got to talk about. I talked to a gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he worked at Mendota. Okay. During the time that Ed was still there
Mm-hmm.
and still alive before he passed away. And this guy used to talk to him. And eventually after Ed passed away, and he passed away in his rocking chair
All
in
right.
his room,
1984.
died in his sleep, right?
Yep.
This guy has got that rocking chair in storage.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to meet with him and then COVID happened. So
Right.
it
In-
didn't it didn't, and I've since lost contact with him. His number changed and shit. So
Interesting. That would be a kind of a cool thing to put in a jail cell.
yeah, I mean,
Um.
just imagine the energy that's probably attached to that chair.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You would think. Um. And like I said before, that with the stuff that we have for the trigger objects at this museum, um, and it's an extra cost, donation cost to hold on to these things. And I've seen some weird stuff. I've seen the knife literally jump off of people's hands. I've um, I have changed personality holding it. Um, that's the thing, you don't realize you're changing your personality unless someone actually tells you. And I was on live when that happened, and the lady that I was talking to, which is Cynthia Dorodius, and she's from Raven Rose Paranormal out of Iowa. So she's like, "Hey, something's not right with you." And I says, "What do you mean?" And she says, "I investigated with you long enough to know that this ain't you. Put down the knife and sit down." So,
Oh,
so that's, yeah. She's like, your whole personality shifted completely. So people do get crazy with it. Some people cry, very emotional. And there's times too where I don't even open it, and they're sitting in the cell, and it's like, it's kind of getting boring in here. Nothing's really happening. And we all know that Augusta was a Bible beater. So I said, well, bring in a Bible and start reading out of the Bible. Maybe you'll get something out of Augusta. And if that's not enough, then I'll say, okay, I'll go open it up and see what happens. And once I open it up, then almost all the all the equipment goes off, and it goes
wow.
crazy for about an hour, hour and a half. It'll settle down. Small Town Paranormal caught a lot of good stuff. Traveler's Moon caught a lot of good stuff. Phantasm Paranormal, the team I'm with, caught a lot of great stuff, especially in the upstairs jail part too. That's interesting with a German soldier. Um, so the museum is focused on a lot of things. The jail can be hot, it can be cold. Every place has its lull time. Um, the house side of things, we have a lot of kid spirits, a lot of adult spirits in that side. So it's an array of spirits. Doctors, they're there as a spirit as well. A dentist is there as a spirit. Um, so
Wasn't there an old schoolhouse on that property?
the old schoolhouse is actually a mile back behind.
Okay.
So, but that is part of the investigation as well. It's from the 1850s, and that gets very crazy with the more time you spend in there. Like a lot of times too, people go like, "Oh, the first time, like, oh, we didn't get a whole lot of stuff," and I was like, "Well, come back next time," because the first time when you go to these locations is that these spirits are studying you just as much as you're studying them,
Right.
and then the next time you go back, then they're ready to play. You know, I've had doors shut on people during tours.
Well,
Um,
that would make more sense considering that, especially when you're dealing with a schoolhouse, you're dealing with kids still.
yep,
So, kids are like, especially then, don't talk to strangers.
yeah,
So they're like, okay, Like you said, they're studying you, and then when you come back, you've gained a little bit of their trust for them to do something, play their little games with you or whatever.
Right.
You know,
And that goes for every location too. There's some locations that they don't need like a study time, like they'll be active right away.
or
You
they
know,
just, or they
it's just
can sense that they don't like you and want you gone.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is true.
yeah.
Broadhead Manor is another great location I've been to about 4 or 5 times. I mean, that's got tons of spirits in there. And you're looking at 3 levels, 60,000 square feet,
Wow.
and it's massive, but it's a great time out there. They play. They really play with you out there. He's got elementals upstairs on the third floor, because in the back there's a train tracks where there's Indian burial mounds out there.
Really?
Yeah. And with the train tracks being made, it actually pushed it all towards and under the school because the school is back in 1906.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a very interesting
Yeah,
spot too.
you don't disturb that ground, and
Right.
if it's been disturbed with railroad tracks, yeah, I think somebody's going to be a little upset.
Yeah. I mean,
You
you
know,
got
I mean,
limestone too in the 1906 part.
boy, there's a lot of limestone in the Wisconsin area if you look at the landscape.
Right. And the
You
ley
know,
lines too. I mean, yeah, I like to see where some of these ley lines connect up to too, and go check them out.
it'd be interesting. I mean, I've lived. I don't know about you, Darren, but I've lived here all my life, pretty much. I was
Yep, I
born
have
in
too.
Beloit, but we lived in Wisconsin. The hospital you was born with, or we either is South Beloit, so it's like right on the border.
Mm-hmm.
So the hospital or the house we lived in was in one state. You get the picture. But
Yep.
anyway, I was pretty much born and raised raised in the Madison area. I went to school pretty much all my life in Madison area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I've traveled a lot. And there was that one spot, and people say, oh, it's a joke. But you look at it, there is a lot of natural occurrences throughout the globe.
I know what you're talking about.
The wonder spot in the Dells.
I just was gonna say that. Yes, I was
Right,
gonna make a
right.
joke, but then it's like I knew you were gonna go there.
Yep.
That's in
But see,
by
people think
Wisconsin
that
Dells, that area.
my buddy Mark, he never really got a chance to visit that spot before it was gone.
Yeah.
And that it did. That's that one little spot, and I don't know how they did it. I still think there's some geological force of nature there that creates it so that gravity doesn't exist, or the laws of gravity cease to exist in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's too bad that they tore that down too.
And there's a lot of things that got destroyed in the state of Wisconsin that shouldn't have been.
Right.
But Sanitarium Hill and all that area, now it's just a path, basically. But I mean, there's so much stuff out there yet we can still investigate and do stuff. And I'm one of those people that want to find the mysterious steps in the woods.
Yeah.
But the bad part is you got to walk 5 miles into the woods.
Yeah, there's a lot of woods that cover Wisconsin.
Oh yes, there is.
I mean, the Kettle Moraine forests take up a good portion of our state.
Yeah,
You know,
and then it's said to be Bigfoot in there too, the upper and lower.
I believe that. I've talked to God. What the hell is his name?
I see. I'm not a very big Bigfoot kind of person unless I
Finding
actually see it.
Finding Jay.
Finding Jay, yeah, I heard of that one. Yeah.
J. Yeah, if Mark was here, he'd know the guy's last name or be able to pronounce it. But anyway, he won't tell us. He's kind of a busy guy. We were trying to hook up with him to go bigfooting out there, but I get a lot of reports from people that know that I do this, like I'm sure you do from friends and,
Mm-hmm.
friends of friends or whatever.
Right.
There's a highway that runs right through the middle. All right. I think it's 59. It's got a ton of activity for Bigfoot crossing there. It goes from like Eagle to Palmyra, Eagle to
Okay.
Palmyra.
Yep.
Okay. That highway has got a shit ton of activity and sightings through there.
Yeah. And you're talking about Bray Road.
Well, Bray
Bray Road
Road's
has
not
got
too
like
far from there.
UFO sightings and stuff like that, and
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I
yeah.
mean, it's
Bray Road has everything from Bigfoot, uh, because it's not a real good thing, but it's like a shadow, like real close and stuff to the cam,
mm-hmm.
that you'd swear it's like a Bigfoot, like, a silhouette of Bigfoot. And if you look at the sky and zoom in just right, you'll see like some UFOs, like he's sitting there looking at them up in the sky. There's like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell is that shit? And these pictures are like taken in sequence, like three every time it's triggered. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And yeah, I've got some of that stuff on my hard drive still that the owner was willing to let go, to share with us.
Right.
Some of it he's like, this one's staying with me. It's too good. People have offered me too much money for it, and I don't want somebody making money off this picture other
No.
than me,
No. Yeah. I understand that.
But he still showed it to us, and
Yeah.
and the stuff this guy's got down there is just unbelievable and unexplainable,
Right.
you know. And it's a shame our government has to be so closed-minded sometimes. And what I mean about the government is it's like DNR. That's still government, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got the what was that one? Black Cat Mountain or Big Cat Mountain State Park over by Hillsboro in that area.
Not familiar with it.
Linda Godfrey and her son did a
Oh,
thing on it.
Godfrey. Now that sounds familiar because I ran
Yeah,
into a
Linda
guy.
passed away not too long ago, but her and her son did a documentary on it, and it was done for the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference because that's when it was released during COVID because it was all online that year.
Yeah.
Everything was online. And they were talking about a Black Panther being sighted around that area.
Hmm.
DNR's like, oh, they don't exist.
Right.
There's no such thing. But Black Panther, from what I understand, is just a cat. Most of the time, it's a leopard or jaguar with that disease that makes them all black, kind of like the opposite of albinoism.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I
Now,
wonder why if it's called the Milwaukee Panthers.
why can't that oh, that can't happen to a cougar, but yet it happens to a jaguar and a panther, or a jaguar and a leopard, but yet you're telling me it can't happen to any species from the feline? No, just those two.
Yeah.
So it doesn't exist in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
Well, why can't it be a black mountain lion? Oh, those don't exist. That's the DNR's official thing. But yet this thing's been spotted, and they've got pretty good pictures and photos and video of this thing. You can obviously tell it's not a house cat.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's feline, but it's much larger than a house cat.
Right.
No, that don't exist. It doesn't exist. That's what they say.
Because they want you to get it out of your mind. That's why.
Well, it just kind of ticks me off that they say it ain't possible, but yet it is.
Right. It's a lot of things possible. Like we said, a whole bunch of possibilities.
You know, you got all these closed-minded people, and if some of them, these governments would just open their thing, they could help with the research by being a central location for the documentation of all the sightings
Mm-hmm.
or something, you know. No, they can't do that. But I want to go to that state park one of these days. It's over by Hillsboro.
Yeah.
So, and I go out there every now and then anyways, and it's just one of these days I'll go, and if anything else, I'm going to get some awesome pictures
Right.
above
Have,
the trees and stuff, because that park is just another one of those ones in Wisconsin where it's just breathtaking. You
have
know,
you seen a Talzon State Park at all?
a what?
A state park called a Talzon State Park.
Asylum State Park.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay. So I heard something about that with the water there.
Okay, you're talking about Rock
It's
Lake.
it's supposed to bring kind of sexual tension.
Well, no, here's I don't know about that, but the water it's hold on. I'll see if I can get it.
It's supposed to be a temple on it too, right?
Pyramids,
Pyramids. That's it.
underwater pyramids are in that lake.
Okay.
But Asylum State Park itself is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that's closer to the Milwaukee area, isn't it?
No,
Or is
no.
that
It's Lake Mills. It's like right around Lake Mills, Johnson Creek,
okay?
uh, Dodge County,
Right,
Dodge
right.
and Jefferson County area.
Okay,
More
that would make
Jefferson
sense.
County than Dodge. Yeah.
I've
But
heard of.
anyway, it was Native American land, obviously, like most of it was, but that was like one of their encampments or whatever. Um, Forts, I don't know. But anyway, it gets because the river is like right there. There's a river right there. You can obviously see there's mounds, burial mounds or something. They're huge and they're all over the park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's one in particular, and God, another reason to hate the government. Called the Princess Burial Mound. Okay. It is said that if you stand on her mound, reading the rock or the whole thing about her that's like supposed to be there, you'll hear shells rattling behind you, and when you turn around to look, it stops. And the reason for shells is because she used to wear belts, and she was buried with them that were made out of seashells.
So is this like an urban legend type deal?
It goes further. Now, the reason this happens is because they decided, I don't know who they were, I'm sure it was a government of some sort, decided we're gonna dig up this area. They dug up her bones, put them on display in a museum down in Milwaukee. Got all the quite a few of the Native American tribes protesting that museum and stuff in Milwaukee, and to this day, her bones have not been returned to that mound. They lay rest in storage in the basement of that museum.
Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah, time to take a trip to a museum then.
I don't know which museum for sure, but I'm sure we could figure that out. But when we were out there, I didn't get a chance to because Mark's like, well, it's private property. You shouldn't. And I figured just crossing over to take a look and do a little quick pictures and stuff wasn't going to hurt, you know. So next time we go out there, that's what I'm doing. But we had some equipment failure happen out
Mm-hmm.
there to the point, and it happened like after we got home. You know, all our cards were file corrupted, and there was no way we could get the files off. I tried, and I know computers and know how to retrieve stuff. I've been around them for quite a long time before the
Right.
internet. And we had one of our EMF meters, and I'm walking around with it, and I look down, and it's like just, you know, get the needles getting buried, you know, and going all wacky. And I'm like, fuck, what the hell? Maybe I'm messing up and I'm jiggling it. So I put it right down on the wooden steps that they made into one of these mounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's still going nuts. And we're filming it with the camera just to prove it all. We get back and all that footage is just wiped out.
Jeez. That's interesting.
We've
That
been back
happen
there. We've been back there 2 or 3 times since then.
and that happens at Broadhead Manor too, from what I understand.
And there's nothing around there electric wise that would set the EMF meters off like that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a little interesting.
You know, it was one of the more interesting places that we've been back to more than once.
Right. I haven't been out there yet. Been always trying to get someone to go out there with me, but
I'd
so
like to get. I'd like to have the money it's like some of those TV people would have,
yeah.
you know, so I could get just a small boat, you know, motor on it and all, you know, small fishing boat, doesn't need to be much, and go out on the Rock Lake with an RO, you know, an underwater submersible that you can control,
Yeah.
you know, with a camera and get some real good footage of those pyramids.
That would be interesting.
But I can hear, I hear that if you're on a boat out there on a clear day and the water's nice and calm, you
Mm-hmm.
can see them from the surface.
Hmm.
That's what I've heard, though.
Interesting.
Uh, But oh, it looks like we're almost up to an hour.
Yep. We're getting there.
So,
What else
so
would
what
you
else is
like to
up for
talk
you?
about? What's that?
What else is up for you that you got coming up?
Um. So tomorrow, like I said, I'll be at the museum. I got Small Town Paranormal coming. Check those guys out. They're pretty cool. Pretty cool guys. Um. And the 24th, I'll be at the Sheboygan Asylum for an investigation.
Let me know
And
how that goes.
yeah,
I'm
this will be
really,
my third time there.
I've had the people that I don't know if they're the ones still running it or not, but I had the people on my show once. They were
Okay.
supposed to come on again. Something happened on their end.
Okay.
But I've been trying to contact them because I really want to go to that place. That is, I mean, it'd be cool to have Insane Asylum check out an asylum.
Right.
You
I'm
know,
waiting for the Winnebago mental institution to go under so I can investigate that here in town. But I mean, there's Asylum Point here in town. That's kind of a little crazy. We
well,
got
I
um,
might have to come your way, and you'll have to give us a tour
yeah. I mean,
to
there's
rent something.
a cemetery that is quote
Oh,
unquote like not known. It's kind of hidden away. It's got over was it 750 bodies in there.
wow.
They're just markers basically. Um, and let's see. There's a lot of stuff that we're trying to plan on doing, like going to Broadhead for an investigation. I gotta still get that going. I want to get to Malvern Manor if possible. That's in Iowa, Malvern, Iowa. Um, uh, you know, Cambria House and Farm, Nauvoo, Illinois. Definitely got to check that out. That's right on the Mississippi River.
Wow.
It's a really nice place.
Yeah, I like being out there by the Mississippi River.
She's got some Indian Burial Mounds out there as well. You can't investigate those, which I wouldn't anyway. Just out of respect.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few things. September 20th and 21st, I'll be going to Edinburgh Manor in Iowa. So that'll be pretty cool. And that's a location you can get something during the daytime and nighttime. Those locations I like typically a lot more because you could continuously investigate for 48 hours.
Yeah, we did that with for our school in Maxwell, Iowa.
I've been there.
A pretty active place for us too that day.
Yeah, it's a neat location. I've been there once though. I think it was 2019 when I was out there last.
I don't remember when we were out there. We were out there. We did a couple of things with Dale Kazmarek. He invited us along for the trip.
Actually, no, 21. 21 is when I was out there last.
And we also did the Buddy Holly crash site.
Okay.
That was cool just to be there. Being a music fan and a fan of music, it was just so surreal just to be there.
Right. That I think there's another Glenbeulah School. That's another place I'd like to check out. I heard it's extremely haunted there too. The cemetery is haunted as well. There's a whole array of things that we still don't know what's here in Wisconsin that can be haunted. I mean, it's like I said, talked about High Cliff Park. I mean, or State Park. I mean, that's connected. I did not know that was connected to Canada.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I had no idea. But there's lots of stuff that goes on with that. We talked about the high and low catamarans.
Yeah. Catamarans full of activity.
So I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can find here. I love urban legends. I think urban legends is a great way to break up investigations and do something different.
Oh yeah.
I find them very fascinating, especially the Boy Scout lane in Stevens Point area.
Yeah,
we were out there, and let me tell you, that's the first time I've ever set up a laser grid outside in the woods, and I had one of those megaphones, basically that what do you call it? It has a special mic to it. You can hear far away things.
The bionic ear.
Yeah. And I
like this.
It's got a gun to it with a yeah, exactly. So I was using that out there, and and my God, it was crazy. It felt like things were just around us, just circling us. Things are running in the woods, like, and it wasn't like sound like animals. It actually sounded like little kids running.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a crazy spot there.
That's out in Stevens Point, if I remember right.
Yeah. Way out in Stevens Point. We did the Bloody Bride Bridge. We tried that one out. Didn't get much there, but we were down in a tunnel part, and the tunnel part is interesting.
There was one, I can't remember see if I can look it up. I
Paradolic mic.
another
That's what it is.
time,
It's a
but
paradolic mic. But I mean, you
yeah,
got
here it is. Here it is. We went to. You want to hear something really scary once?
sure.
My wife and I. It was just my wife and I. We had a little bitty Ford Taurus, so we didn't have the vehicle I got now, where I would have felt much safer in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got the police interceptor version of the Ford Explorer. So it's totally like, it's like driving a tank.
Right.
Um, in Ripon, uh, Fond du Lac County, Collin Road is the actual name of the road.
Okay.
It's called it's an urban legend. It's called Witch Road.
Oh yes, yes, I know about that
Okay.
one.
You know
You
about
can't
that?
actually go on there. They blocked it off.
We went
Somebody.
on there. We got on there.
Really?
We got on there. My wife and I somehow managed to get back in there. We managed to get right. I mean, we had the GPS and everything right located right where that her cabin was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get there, and oh my God, I shit you not, there was like at least 10 guys walking around with rifles. Okay. And they had a bobcat out there. That's what that thing is, bobcat.
Yeah.
And they were destroying, like turning it to rubble. They were looking like they were getting ready for a bonfire.
Hmm.
And it's like, I didn't get out of my car. We didn't stop to take pictures, nothing. I started seeing those guys walking around with guns, and it's like, let's just keep moving that way.
Yeah. Somebody owns the road now, I guess.
So,
So
but this
that
was
yeah,
like back in 2019, 2020. I mean, we just, every now and then my wife is like, well, let's go take a road trip. You need to get out of the house.
yeah.
You've been cooped up too long. Let's go. And I'll be hesitant and stuff, but we did it that day, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's your take on haunted objects?
Oh, I believe it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody carries around or wears a belt buckle for many years, there might be an attachment to it, you know.
Right. See, I can't stand haunted dolls and stuff like that. It's just like every time I see one, I want to punt it. But
It just depends. I mean, you know, like I said, it's got to be the story or whatever. How, but I mean, you know, do I believe everything's haunted that people say? Probably not.
yeah.
You know, I mean, but if like my grandpa was carrying around a flask, and that's the thing he carried around and treasured the most, and he passed away, I believe there might be attachment to it or something like that, because to him that was his most valuable prized possession.
Right. Right. Well, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and Travis Wazaki, Wazaki Paranormal. Um, he makes a lot of REM pods and gear, and I'm like, hey, let's try something different. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want to try? I said, let's make a coffee mug into a REM pod, and then being able to open it and put the grounds in there so they can smell the grounds. Because in this day and age, okay, there is a lot of coffee drinkers out there now.
Well, there was back then too, if you think about it.
Right.
I
So I
mean,
would think that
coffee's
would
been around longer than you and I have been around.
right. More so, I think it's more so in the 2000s and now it's gotten really big, you know,
Well, that's
and
because of those coffee houses.
right.
I can't even think of the name because I don't go. Starbucks.
Yep, Starbucks. Yep. Um, And that's just it. I was like, well, if there's a recent person that has passed and their favorite thing was to drink coffee, let's use this as a trigger object, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, some people may look at that as like, well, that's kind of dumb. That's kind of crazy,
I
weird. Why
think
would you
that's
do
kind
that?
of a creative idea. That's smart.
You know, it's like I look at things and wherever I go to a location, I study it and like, hmm, this would be a good REM pod trigger object to take to this location only for this location.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening a lot. You
So,
got to think outside the box once in a while.
right, right. And the newest thing I'm studying on and going to try is I'm using one of these
Oh,
Metrodome.
yeah. They use it to tune pianos and guitars and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yep, that's my newest experiment. I'm going to be trying. Uh,
Well, it was good having you on. We got to cut this short. I
oh,
think there's
that's
a
fine.
show after us. Um, so it was nice having you on. We're gonna have you back. I'm hoping to catch up with you this summer too.
Yeah,
That would be really cool. I'm gonna have to
about the
come to your
museum. I'll
neighborhood.
give it a tour.
I'm gonna have to come to your backyard there.
Sure.
So it was good having you.
Thanks for
And
having me on. I appreciate it.
thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry Mark couldn't make it. He's got internet issues. We'll be back next week. Until then, stay safe and remember, anything's possible.
Have a good weekend, folks.